right, we're talking Spitzer, and we're back with our panel: Amity Shlaes, Herb Greenberg, Vince Farrell, Jerry Bowyer. Herb, I appreciate your point of view. You're a great friend, but I just want to put this on. I think he felt, Spitzer, that he was bulletproof, he was above the law, he was invincible. I think that goes along with the obsession and addiction for sex and whatever else he was going on. That's part of the problem. But I want to go back to your Wall Street defense. I would agree with you in some generic sense that research had to be separate from investment banking. But I also think that Spitzer was using a political trick to scapegoat the big Wall Street firms during a very bad market period. And it was too easy for him to do that. And I'm not sure, Herb, I see any lasting positives come from that.
The positives of Wall Street research and that you can't discount. I think after that, the bravado became greater. He saw what he could do there. He went. This Vanity Fair piece that David Margolick wrote in January was tremendous. And it makes you think that, in a sense, he felt he was so above it, it was almost like he had a death wish. Come and get me. And that's the way you feel from this. But I still come back to the research. That, you have to say, was good. Everything else is up to debate.
But Jerry Bowyer, how shocking is it to know that, after all, firms in the money business are in the money business, and their customers know they are in business, so one always suspected that there might be some conflict of interest, quote unquote. And Jerry, in particular, let's look at today's story with mortgage-backed securities, subprime securitizations. Right. These big Wall Street firms have big research operations. They kept putting out the positives, the buys, it's okay to do that, and the whole thing fell apart. Now, it's interesting to me, nobody's going to look at that. The bond market, the securitization market, the subprime market, no one's looked at the issue of Wall Street research and banking. No one looked at that. Is that a problem today?
Oh, that's a very interesting point. Frankly, I hadn't thought about it until you just mentioned it. The idea that by divesting them of the research division, you hampered them intellectually.
Yeah.
That's very plausible to me. I don't know enough about the inner workings, but that's very, very plausible to me. You know, I want to say something else about Spitzer and kind of the way he used Wall Street politically. It's easy to demonize business in the Democratic Party, but on top of that, what he does is, I think I said a couple of weeks ago on your program, he shoots the wounded. And when these decisions are being made by a big Wall Street firm, they're made in good faith. They're buying or selling subprime mortgages, and they're trying to make money, and they're trying to do their jobs. Then there's some trigger event, and the market turns down. Amity calls it recession revenge. A market turns down, and after it's obvious it's a mistake, then the Spitzers of the world come out, and they retroactively declare everyone foolish or evil or stupid or greedy when it's obvious to everyone before it wasn't. And I think that kind of Monday morning quarterbacking, that kind of gotcha politics is not fair.
Is it different, Amity? I'll try with you. You wrote the book about FDR and the Depression. I mean, what's different here from a normal populist, demagogic attack on Wall Street? This isn't a class warfare. I hear it every day in the campaign trail. Elevating Spitzer to be some great arbiter of proper research, to me, is nonsense. This is class warfare. Wall Street is an easy target, especially during a sluggish economy and a down market.
Well, this is class warfare with a cost, because we're in a great war of our own between New York and London. Relative competitiveness of the U.S. economy. We're laboring under Sarbanes-Oxley. And when you go to London or Europe, the first thing that foreign firms say is, what about that litigation in New York? What about that Spitzerism? It's a real problem. It's hurt us. It's probably quantifiable.
Even John Whitehead supported that Sarbanes-Oxley. Don't ever forget that.
Well, it was wrong.
Vince Farrell, is the quality of Wall Street research in the intervening years, it's been about 5 years now since the Spitzer attack on the street. All right, you're a receiver of that. Is it better, worse, the same? How do you read it?
The same. It was bad to begin with. It's bad now.
Right.
And part of it is they have an axe to grind. And what I find Wall Street research to be very good for is this wonderful collection of data, and let me make up my own mind. Now, Herb, where the small investor has to be protected is that the small investor is not making up his or her mind, that the broker is making up for him. But I sometimes get a one-page update with 8 pages of disclosure. So the pendulum's gone too far. It's ridiculous.
Oh, and by the way, I think there's a lot. I think if you go beyond the big firms, you still find some of that same stuff going on throughout Wall Street at the smaller firms. And I don't think anything's changed.
You always will, Herb. That's the thing. And I want to get you a quick whip around. Herb, the thing I cannot forgive, all right? You all know more about Wall Street research. I've been out of that game a long time. I cannot forgive him, Herb, for the character assassination and the personal smears. I cannot forgive him. That is misusing and abusing his office as Attorney General of New York. And frankly, if this prostitution ring hadn't happened, he'd have misused his office as governor, as he did, as you started to point out, with State Senator Joe Bruno. This guy was a character assassin and a smear artist, Herb. That's where his legacy is going to be.
Well, right now it's going to be, if he hadn't been so stupid for such a supposedly smart guy, maybe that wouldn't be his legacy.
But Jerry Boyer's stupidity goes with this territory, doesn't it?
It does. It goes with addiction. It goes with arrogance. The guy's a bully. He was a bully in the boardroom, and he was a bully in the bedroom.
You want to close this down from your research on this with all these names that he should apologize to?
Yeah, he has a list to apologize to, but we want to be careful. May the law give him the justice that he denied others. We don't want to descend to his level. We do not want to descend to his level.
And it is interesting. No deal was made. We're going to pick this up in the next segment. No deal was made. He tried to abuse his high office one last time by cutting a deal with prosecutors to stay out of jail. Now, that, in a sense, is the final vindication.
Well, I hear the music. We're going to a break. I don't mind class warfare. I understand it. When you're making a lot of money, the world's going to come at you. So that's normal playing field. So as far as the class warfare with the political candidates and stuff go, Larry, that's business as usual, as long as you get your day in court.
Right.
Give me a day in court, which these guys never got.
And Herb and Jerry, we got to close, but I want to tell you something. I think Wall Street was weak in this. I don't think Spitzer was strong. Wall Street should have taken him to court and make him prove his case. And that was another part of this that I thought was absolutely despicable. Jimmy Cramer and I interviewed him many times during those years. I asked him many times, Mr. Attorney General, why don't you go to court? And he deflected it. He never answered that question. And the few times he went to court, Amity, he lost. That's the amazing part of this story. Wall Street caved in. They were a bunch of wusses when push came to shove.
For $1.4 billion, it was a cheap price to cave.
That's what they said then.
That's what they said. In retrospect, look how cheap it was. Because we've lost $180 billion since then on other stuff.
Compared to the subprime. They'd like to have that $1.5 billion back. Amity Slaves, thank you ever so much. Herb Greenberg, we appreciate it, really do. Dougie Cass, Doug's not here. Vince Farrell, Jerry Boyer.
Thanks, Larry.
Coming up live tonight.